what it is, but he just, in a fantastic way, made me feel good, found out what the problem is in no time. You know, things, nobody's ever done this before and will never do it again. George is a very extreme character. He always goes to the extreme. If it's taking coke, you know, sniffing coke, or if it is being open to meditation. He was in New York, and one time I said, I'm going to come over and watch you. He said, okay. And then he said, oh, Klaus is coming, hide the stuff. And that made me very, very sad. I lived first in the main house, in a room, old Victorian house, beautiful old kitchen. In the early days, you had your servants that were going from the kitchen to the front room and bringing you the food. And then had you walk through 5 doors to, oh, I left the spoons, I had to go back. It was really crazy. It was not meant to be lived in by just normal people. So I, at a certain point, suggested, George, why don't you put the kitchen where you all are? Just build a kitchen. He said, what's that? That's a good idea. So he actually built a kitchen downstairs where you really look into the main garden. The man who built the house, he must have been a nutcase, a complete maniac. One thing, for example, he has a picture of a friar with a pan in a frying pan in his hand, and with holes in it, and it says underneath, 2 holy friars. You know, stupid stuff in a way. It's not really very, very bright, but that's what the whole place was. It was like a joke in a way.
Before I bought it, the house was going to be knocked down because the Catholics would not pay for the upkeep. What a thing to knock down a house like this. So Frank helped my awareness. Whatever it was, I felt became stronger or found more expression by moving into that house, because everything stepped up or was heightened. There were disasters all around at that time. Some were great, some were awful, some were drawn out, painful, miserable. Some were not disasters after all, but the thing about Sir Frank, with his advice like, scan not a friend with microscopic glass, I mean, that helped me actively to ease up on whomsoever I thought I loved. Gave me the consciousness not to hang on to the negative side of it, to be more forgiving.
One way of starting a day was for him to get up when the sun gets up, sit down and meditate. For a long time he had a special room in the house where he was going to meditate. And he was very proud of this. He would come to me and tell me about it, how strong he was, and he was fighting the bad parts in his body, and you hear we're really opening up.
George liked turning you on to things that he liked and was interested in, whether you were a little kid or whether you were a grown-up. For our kids, their first experiences at George's house were not unlike the experience that Derek and I had when we went on that weekend to Sussex, but without the drugs. The impression it made upon them, it's such a wonderful place. The caves, the lake, the shape of the house, everything, the detail. It was just a dream.
Give me love, give me love, give me peace on earth, give me light, give me life, keep me free from birth, give me hope, help me cope with this heavy load, trying to touch and reach you with heart and soul.
He created an atmosphere in the studio. He put up joss sticks, make a nice smell. He put the lights down. He really made it into a real tranquil, nice sort of surrounding. Everybody felt just great. He would sit down with a guitar most of the time, play the song to us. And then slowly we would start picking up on what the feel of the song was. We could take our time, find our sound, do what we wanted, make suggestions.
George had such a beautiful touch on the slide. You know, George had that kind of sound that make you cry. So when I hear certain songs that he's playing slide on, it just takes me right. It just takes me right to a place.
We love to find the right note, and you know, if you listen to anything he's playing the solo on, he certainly did. If I had him on my records, you didn't have to read it. Oh, that's George. You know, he found that incredible. It's like haunting and emotional sound he got from his slide-ish guitar.
Say with Ravi, the times when he's completely absorbed so much into the music where he's forgotten that he's even sitting there playing. And he only remembers when he's finished the piece and he comes out and the audience applaud. That's the moment when he realizes he's transcended and been somewhere, which is the same in meditation. Sometimes I think great people can project their greatness. They don't have to shout about it. The concert Eric Clapton at the Rainbow. Watching the concert, I was so aware of Eric. All he did was he had his eyes closed and he was playing some fantastic guitar and his foot was tapping. The thing was that the magic was coming out of Eric's soul or whatever through his guitar. And it was at that point where he just looked like an angel.
When George was ready to make a record, he would just say that he's got some new songs, and would I be wanting to, you know, come and play on them. When he put out his record, Living in a Material World, on the back of the record he put Jim Keltner Fan Club, send a self-undressed elephant to Jim Keltner Fan Club, and you know, and all that. And so when I saw that, I went, George, what's that, man? What did you do? And he said, well, I figured if I'm going to do a fan club, I'm going to make it about somebody who I'm a big fan of. What a tremendous thing, you know. It was a little embarrassing, but yet it just, you know. George was always having fun. I was getting weird letters from crazy people. I got a couple of Polaroids from this crazy guy. Like there was an arrow through a piece of meat, like I think it was a heart. I think he bought a heart or something, or some kind of big piece of meat, and there was an arrow going through it. And you know, and then there was one with a knife and blood dripping, and that was right about the time that I had bars put on our windows.
George stepped back, and that step back to me means that he got very heavily into drugs and things, which I don't know the reason why that happened.
Recommended by Eric Clapton, Barbara Streisand and many other top-notch singers and entertainers. Secret mixture of honey, vinegar and warm water. And your throat will never bother you again. You just won't have a throat. But it coats what you don't have, so they tell me. And
You make any musical rebuttal to Layla?
how do you mean music? What, rebuttal? I mean, that sounds nasty for a kick-off. I mean, I'd just like to sort that one out. I love Eric Clapton's been a close friend for years, and I'm very happy, about it. And I'm very friendly with him, sure.
How can you be happy about that?
Because he's great. I'd rather she was with him than some dope. There's nothing to say, really. I mean, if you just get my album, it's like Peyton Place. It'll tell you exactly what I've been doing. One's called So Sad, one's called Simply Shady.
Is there a paradox between being spiritual and being on tour with a band?
It is difficult, It's good practice in a way, because it's to be, like they say, be in the world but not of the world. I mean, that's, a famous saying. You go to the Himalayas, I miss it completely, and yet you can be stuck in the middle of New York and be very spiritual. It brings out a certain thing in myself. Then somehow, you have to look within yourself, otherwise you go crackers.
Beatle himself, get a plug ramp. Hey, tonight's 7 plug ramp. Hey, George X. Beatle Harrison, plug ramp.
Thought that you knew it wasn't when. Looks like you've been fooling you again. Thought that you had gotten me all staked out. Baby, looks like I've been waiting out. Through the dark hole.
The critics were brutal. I remember that about Ravi opening the show, and about George's voice being gone and shot. Yeah, his voice probably was very weak, or and beat up, and maybe a lot of people they saw bored with the Indian set. But that did not deter George. And by the way, not everybody was bored with it, and not everybody thought that his voice sounded horrible. They just loved hearing those songs and him trying to deliver them the best he could.
The next move will be Madison Square Garden. After that, they'll go back to the hotel, then it'll be Madison Square Garden again. After that, I'll probably just collapse. I don't know.
He liked the moon. If the wind was blowing and the full moon was up, he'd put on Bing Crosby singing Sweet Leilani. And just make the moment even better, and then he might hand you a gardenia. He just painted life like that. He drew all the elements in. He was a very sensual person. Sensual in the way that whatever you ate had to have a flavor, had to have some special flavor. If there was a flower, he wanted it to smell or be bright. When I first met him, he said, "I don't want you to think you've discovered something about me I don't know. I'm not claiming to be this or that or anything. People think they've found you out when, I'm not hiding anything." For whatever his, faults were and he had karma to work out. And he wasn't going to come back and be bad. He was going to be good and bad and loving and angry and everything all at once. If someone said to you, okay, you can go through your life and you can have everything in 5 lifetimes, or you can have a really intense one and have it in 1, and then you can go and be liberated, he would have said, give me the one, I'm not coming back here. I thought he was really somebody who was saying something that I connected with. He was really a very captivating person, and he was working. And I liked the music, I liked